What is up, friends? Ryan Solo here for a hot second as we kick things off, but fear not. Tom will be joining us truly very momentarily. In fact, I'm shocked he hasn't arrived yet, but do not worry, you will not be trapped with just me for the entirety of today's episode. But welcome and happy Tuesday, friends. Get up, Discord, Dork Discourse pals. It is episode 66, and I had been anticipating this. As soon as the clock struck 60 in our episode countdown, since we kept going, I was like, all right, make a mental note because we're gonna hit 66 soon and we should do something special. But of course, the nature and the air in the fandom right now, it doesn't necessarily feel appropriate for that, and I didn't have any ideas anyway of what to do to ring in episode 66. What we could have done, perhaps maybe a Revenge of the Sith themed stream or something like that, but there's always other opportunities and chances, and this week didn't exactly feel like the right time. So of course, today I know we had some suggestions. Also, hello. I feel like I've not made introductions. What is up, everybody? Thank you for joining. I hope everyone's been having a great week, in spite of the fact that it's only Tuesday, and as a Star Wars fandom, we are getting off to a rocky start, unfortunately, with the emotional passing of James Earl Jones this week, the legend, the icon. So, in spite of that, in spite of the news and all the other turmoil that's been happening, unfolding in the Star Wars space lately. Fan generated, of course. I hope everyone's been having a good week, off to a good start. Dave, thank you for 19 months of membership, my friend. Yes, rest in peace, James Earl Jones. He is one with the Force, and it's something I truly actually didn't believe it when I saw the news. I found out via Twitter. Some of you guys witnessed it. I replied to the tweet that I learned the news from, but I just genuinely couldn't believe it, because I feel like whenever it would be his birthday, or the same happens with John Williams, for example. Whenever they have a birthday or milestone that passes, if I see any sort of photo of them online or any sort of announcement for them, it makes my heart skip a beat. And so I got so used to that, that I just didn't believe it this time around. Jerry, thank you for membership of 27 months. Holy shnikes. It is a sad day for Star Wars fans everywhere. Rest in peace, Darth Vader. Truly, truly. It's, I still haven't really wrapped my head around it, just as I haven't wrapped my head around, Carrie Fisher. And it's been like 6 years, it's over 6 years. I think some things, just especially when something that's such a big part of your childhood, it's coming one day, that the beloved cast and, these icons and our idols and, these figures that we grow up with, they can't live forever, but you still just live in that kind of state of denial that it's one day, but not today. So when it does happen, it's especially, just a big punch to the heart for all of us, especially with, a character as legendary as, Darth Vader, that is cultural icon there, not just amongst the sweaty Star Wars fans, but, his legacy surely is speaking for itself. And we will always have that to, reflect on and be appreciative of whenever we hear Lord Vader's voice. Alice says, it was a really bad day yesterday for me. I found out that my grandfather died at the same time that Mufasa died when I was watching Lion King. So many emotions came back. I cried all day. Oh my god, Alice has been put through the freaking ringer this week. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry for your loss. That is a rough... That is... I'm not articulating this correctly. That's so rough. I'm actually genuinely so sorry. I'm grateful that you're here, that you even showed up in spite of having literally the roughest week. I'm so terribly sorry. I'm sending you and your whole family my condolences. And I'm grateful that you're still here. And hopefully this can bring even the slightest bit of light to your day in spite of everything that you're currently going through. I can't believe you're even here right now. Like that, I'm grateful that you are, and I hope that you're doing all right. It's just been a rough week all around, folks. It's, I didn't know what the topic tonight was gonna be. We don't necessarily have to dive into it, but there's so much that's been going on in the Star Wars fandom, mainly online. And I've been hesitant to speak on it, but I think at the end of the day, you guys know where my heart truly stands, and that, the pillar of this community here, no matter what, no matter how we all feel or disagree, no matter how opposite on the ends of the spectrum we might fall when it comes to our love for certain Star Wars material, we're all united at the end of it because it's our, it's a shared passion for those of us, for all of us, in spite of how you feel about it. So it's just been rough, though. And we don't have to dive fully into it because I don't even know how to further elaborate on it necessarily. But of course, with the passing of James Earl Jones, it's just a reminder of, at the end of the day, in spite of all of our differences and the, quarrels that we might have specifically online, where there's just this sense of kind of anonymity and immunity in a way, because there is that air that you can say whatever to whoever you want on the other side, and while you might just be typing one thing into your screen, there's still another person on the end of all of that. And I think we've strayed so far from that truth, that reality, that we're all just people, we're all just fans who share a same common passion at the end of all of it. And, as tragic as it has been, it's not unifying in a sense, but a good reminder that life's too short to dwell on fiction and the drama that it stirs up. And maybe I'm saying this as a reminder to myself as a, content creator who, admittedly, I am going to be, Star Wars will always be the pillar of this channel, and I'll always come back to it, and I will react to every single thing. I can't wait for Skeleton Crew. Wish it was sooner, but here we are. It's already midway through September, so that means frickin' December is going to be here like that in the blink of a flipping eye. So I'm going to try to savor what few weeks we have left of this year, but in spite of that, I'm still incredibly excited for Skeleton Crew, and of course I'll be reacting to it. But admittedly, I am going to be pivoting content a bit from this channel, just in Star Wars drought moments and in general. YouTube, this is not the time for ads. Yes, sorry, Epic Dude. They are getting righteous out here, y'all. They are going ham with the ads. I think it used to roll first, the whole idea of running ads during a live stream in general is unfortunately a new phenomenon that was introduced this year, that if I want to monetize a live stream at all, I have no choice but to have mid-roll ads, which I think is just bonkers. But now it has started, I hate this concept, because now it's, in order to maximize, your revenue, your monetization, it rolls mid-roll ads at random different times for everybody differently. So we're all like out of sync, I feel like, after that point. If you watch a 30-second ad and you come back, I guess it brings you back to where we are live, but then that means you missed part of the conversation. I don't know. So unfortunately, that is out of my hands. So apologies in advance. I feel like I always have to reiterate and defend the fact that it's not me. I swear I'm not manually running these ads at the most inopportune times, but it is ridiculous what I've been hearing from the fandom. Correct, Anatar, and especially, it's kind of like Acolyte was the warm-up for Rings of Power, which admittedly I think has been better, the vibe in the Tolkien fandom, because I feel like a lot of people who just didn't vibe with season 1 left it, and they left it off their plate and didn't come back to it, and haven't been, spiraling into this, hate campaign to try to bring down the show like there was, as soon as the cast was announced for that series. I feel like that has kind of dulled down a little bit, and I was saying this in the last stream, we talked mainly about Rings of Power in our last Dork Discourse, but I do feel like it has been way less atrocious in the comment sections. I feel like last year, or however many years ago that was, 2 years ago for season 1, it was like the worst my comment sections have ever been. It was awful. I could barely navigate it. It took the motivation out of me so much. You guys wouldn't know if you were following along with my Rings of Power season 1 reactions. I literally took a break for the best episode of the frickin' series. That was the best episode of that season. I didn't react to that one because I just wanted to be able to enjoy it for myself. Maybe that's where I'm going with all of this. He finally showed up. but I took a break, literally towards the climax of the season, because I had voiced this to Tom. I was like, I don't want to do these reactions anymore because I can't even enjoy it, because unfortunately it's working. You know, the people who peddle these hate campaigns, and, you know, misery loves company, and if they don't like something, they want to bring you down with them. You know, it works, unfortunately, if you're as saturated online as I am, and my comment section was just overflowing with that type of rhetoric. So this season, this time around, I feel like it has been so much better. Maybe I blocked all the people from season 1 so that they haven't returned, but I feel like I've been getting way more comments saying, like, thank you for this positive content. Thank you for sharing your enthusiasm about the show. I love it. I love this season. So hopefully I didn't just jinx this, but all this is to say, and I hope this is never the case on this channel, but I feel like I need a reminder sometimes, and we all do in this fandom, that nobody else has the right to tell you how to love or how to feel about a show. And that goes both ways. Just because I loved Acolyte, we both did, and we did a lot of campaigning and, you know, cheering on for a season 2 here, that doesn't give us any right to try to tell you that you're wrong if you didn't like it, and vice versa. And I feel like that's where we've fallen so far in the fandom. And I don't know, that reminder, I saw it from somebody else on Twitter, and it kind of just really changed my mindset in a way that I needed, because things have been very heated, surprisingly, in the fandom. It's been T-minus however many weeks since Acolyte ended.
That's T+.
T+. Yeah, okay. Okay, Mr. Scientist, with the correct terminology. Yeah. T+. No. It's been T+, like, over a month, at least. It's been over a month, I think. Ended? Yeah.
It's been a couple months.
Yeah. It feels like less than a couple, because it just goes by.
June, it was over.
Probably by end of June. Oh, yeah. If it was over, then it hasn't been a couple months. When the heck did I have technology? I have my own literal archive here on the channel. When did I upload that finale reaction? Regardless, it doesn't necessarily feel like it's been that long, but it has been. When was this? 1 month, according to my YouTube archives. But regardless, it's been T+1 month, and I feel like the discourse has still been more hostile than ever, and the tensions that, you know, rose up and boiled over during the Acolyte have just, I feel like, imploded across the entire fandom. And I admittedly can get very down about it at times, but I saw that reminder that is so simple that I feel like we can forget, which is, like, nobody has the right to make you love something you hate or hate something you love, vice versa. So that was a very emo start to this stream, but of course, you know, with the passing of James Earl Jones.
You're on a bender right now.
Well, you know, we were reflecting on the passing of James Earl Jones, and that's of course a huge bummer, and it's coming at a time when the fandom's been especially divided. Tensions have been extremely high in the online Star Wars spaces, and if anything, you know, it serves as a reminder of how short life's too short, and we all at the end of the day love this franchise and are equally all brokenhearted about it. You know, it affects all of us regardless of whether you loved Acolyte or hated Acolyte, you know, like.
Yeah, and the back and forth is just, it's all just drama. It doesn't amount to anything other than just drama.
Some could argue that it amounted to
clickbaiting and back and forth and stirring the pot, and it's all, what matters is the content and what is being created and the franchise itself, which is why you go to Celebration and go to conventions and talk to people face to face. It's all just, you know, positive. Everybody's there to have a good time, enjoy the thing that they love, versus back and forth on the internet is no value added other than money in the pockets of all these different channels bickering and fighting back and forth with each other. So that's all it is. And it's, you know, annoying to continue to have to keep, you know, talking about it when it doesn't add any value to anything, literally at all. So,
but we do, as a, you know, trying to, I don't even like to use the words positive and negative, but as people who enjoy the current, you know, material from Disney Plus, I do feel like we have a platform and a responsibility, and I've shied away from that for so long, to try to put out as much positivity just from our own spirit, not necessarily positivity about the shows or whatnot, but just when times are rough like this, I feel like I've just kind of glossed over it because yes, at the end of the day, it is drama, and I'm such a big believer that like YouTube is not the real world. Social media is not
It's
reflective
not.
of the real
And
fandom.
responsibilities don't exist on the internet.
I would disagree.
If you don't appreciate something, don't watch it. Don't
Well,
click on it. Don't watch it.
that's
Don't
like-
engage with it. You have full freedom to engage and watch whatever you want. If you don't like something, don't watch it. Block it. You never have to see it again if you don't want to.
But
That's why it's not the real world.
That's like
You're exactly
asking
right. It's
some
the internet.
people in this fandom to do rocket science. Like that is such a difficult concept, unfortunately, because it is.
No, because people engage because they want to and they like it. They like the drama. They like to stir the pot. They like to poke people's buttons. And it's the internet. You can do that if you want. Have at it.
The whole point is you shouldn't. Anyway,
But ignore it if you don't like it.
This is straight.
And don't. So
Uh,
anyway, how y'all doing? Sorry I'm late. I missed the first few minutes. Apologies there.
I know. I was waiting for you to make a buzzer beater. I'm like, he's usually,
Yeah.
even if you haven't been late in a hot minute.
No,
so I was like, he's
the-
gonna roll in right at 5 o'clock
Because
on the top.
No, I got screwed by traffic. So
Ah.
apologies. But yeah, I'm sure you started the stream with this, but it's a sad last 24 hours or so in the world of Star Wars, with the very sad passing of James Earl Jones. So I know people have been talking about it in the chat. Obviously, Mr. Jones was a legend in so many different ways, even outside of Star Wars, but obviously the main contributor of why, one of the main contributions to why Darth Vader is the greatest villain of all time. And, you know, the iconic voice of Darth Vader, I mean, Star Wars would not be the same without him. And I mean, just a really, really sad day. But he lived a long life, 93 years old. May we all live to that age and live a life as great and fulfilling as his. But obviously it's a sad, very sad passing, but he shall be forever remembered in you know, through time as the icon that he is. So
But we can say he left a great legacy. Heck yes, Patrick. Exactly. Yes. As tragic as it is, we'll always have, you know, his work and his talents that he, as Tom put it, you know, changed Star Wars for the better. It would not be the same without him. It's actually interesting. I didn't realize how little I knew about the casting process of how George Lucas came to land on him for the voice of Vader. And my source is Twitter on this, so who knows if that's true. But George Lucas had allegedly been considering Orson Welles originally before he, you know, decided on James Earl Jones. And I didn't even know that he had a stutter to begin with, you know, to grow up with that, you know, predicament and then to become the most iconic voice of a beyond generations. You know, I would say he's a generational cultural, but you know, it's more than that. You know, I don't think there will ever be anyone else like him. So his gifts, exactly, Sean. Those who leave us are never truly gone. Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, there was so much other stuff, I feel like, on the docket. We touched on some of the Star Wars drama that's unfolding, but of course you guys know this will always be a safe space on the channel. Oh yes, I was about to segue into the fact that we are pivoting a little bit, you know. With that said, I'm sure you guys have noticed with some of the newer reactions and whatnot, but I know I disclaimed to my members, I think recently in a members only stream, but you know, during the drought periods of Star Wars, we're always going to go back to Star Wars. That will always be the foundation of this channel, and I will never abandon it nor stop reacting to it. But until December, you know, that leaves a whole window open, so there will be a pivot of content. This month, videos might start to stall a little bit between now and October, but that's just because we have some big things planned for October here on the channel. Yeah, I know, but other than Rings of Power, I'm not necessarily going to be making much more content beyond that. In anticipation to stockpile some things for October, which I'm going to be embarking on something that I've wanted to do on this channel for a long time. I already maybe have some regrets, but it's okay. So you guys shall see what's in store next month. But all that's to say, Star Wars will always be the foundation over here, and I am excited for Skeleton Crew and beyond. But if it does come to what it seems like, I don't know, could be a shift in the tides of pumping the brakes for Disney Plus material and limited series releases to focus and pivot the energy more to theatrical stuff. I feel like you touched on this last stream. Did we talk about this last week? I don't know, because I feel like it's been buzzing since, the Acolyte, and now everyone's reflecting. It's like, okay, well, what do we have in the pipeline? We know we have Andor Season 2, Ahsoka Season 2, allegedly not until 2026? Excuse me?
Yep.
Like, what? That was actually big news that broke, which is rumored. I don't know how much credence there is to that at all, if any, but that is the alleged. I think they are not even filming till 2025, which would mean a 2026 release, potentially, for Ahsoka Season 2. So, if that is the truth, it does feel like they are majorly pumping the brakes. And of course, we had Mando as a consistent series, but that's transferring over to the big screen. So if this is a pivot point, after Skeleton Crew and after Andor and Ahsoka in T-minus 2 years, did I use it T plus or T-minus? Did I use it properly?
2 years in the future?
Yes. T-minus.
Yeah.
T-minus 2 years.
Minus is before, plus is after.
Yes.
Yep.
If that is the case, then I'm not opposed to that. I think this is what we touched on, and we talked about this after we had gone to go see Acolyte. The first 2 episodes premiered at our local theater because they did that special release like they had done with episode 5 of Ahsoka, I think. So, it's as Tom was saying, the internet is not reflective at all of the real life fandom. If you go outside into the real world, amongst other fans in the flesh, and you're just there all bonding together, to experience something new. I feel like that could be not necessarily a reason tensions are so high in the fandom, but something that is just such a grounding experience for all of us. Like, no matter how you feel about Star Wars, I feel like everyone's going to be jonesing to get back to the theater when it's Mandalorian and Grogu now. That's going to be the first film to come out, right?
Yeah.
And I think...
I mean, yes, the internet's not the real world, but there's 2 sides to that. We are real, and we're sharing our real thoughts. All of you watching are real, and you have your own real opinions and thoughts. And we're interacting through the internet and through the chat here. But what doesn't happen in the real world is you will not go to Celebration, and if you're wearing, let's say, a Last Jedi shirt, someone's not going to come up to you to your face and tell you that you're an idiot for wearing a stupid movie t-shirt. That's not going to happen. They just will think it to themselves or walk past you and tell it to their friends, but there's not the confrontational face-to-face confrontation that happens outside of the internet. The internet is a breeding ground for people hiding behind accounts and not face-to-face and saying whatever they want, regardless of how it's going to impact the real person on the other end of the account that they're talking to. That's just what the internet is. So yes, it's great because it allows us to sit here in Southern California and voice our thoughts and opinions with everybody who is watching, 36 of you at the moment, who could be literally all over the world right now. I mean, I know we got some Australians, we got some Europeans, we got plenty of people from the United States, just like we are, and wherever. And I mean, the fact that we get to interact in real time with people from all over the planet is the beauty of the internet. What we could do, which is what some people do, is choose to just insult and, could start insulting, go down the list of people in the chat and just insult you. And we could totally choose to do that. But we're not going to. But for people who would like to, the internet provides that interface as well. So there's a great side, there's a bad side. But the good thing is you can turn off the bad side, and you can block, and you can ban, and you can ignore, and you can do all that. But the reality is, if we were at a convention right now and we did want to insult each other, we wouldn't, unless you are a person who doesn't care and just wants to be mean and be a bully.
I think it's more than that. It's people who insult others and make it their mission to belittle you if you were to wear a Last Jedi t-shirt, or the people who've come into this comment section and been like, oh, F your Last Jedi poster up there. Yeah, we have just as much capability of that, but you know why we don't do it? Because we're happy with our lives, and we're healthy when it comes to our take on Star Wars, and whether we like something or don't, we don't let it, at the end of the day, it is fiction. We don't let that drive us into a tizzy in which we're going to go bring down other people with us. It's like only people who feel insecure in their own lives would go out of their way to diminish your light, which is why, I was saying, don't let nobody has that right, and it's really just a reflection of them if they're trying to ruin something that you love. If you love Acolyte, or if you love The Last Jedi, or if you love the prequels, whatever it may be, don't give other people that power. That it's only them trying to claw at some sort of power because they feel an insecurity in themselves that they need to go about bringing you down to their level. So yeah, that's the whole point, though. It's like, I pray that doesn't happen at Star Wars Celebration. I think,
and if it does, and they're in the extreme minority, and then
shouldn't even be there in the first place,
and people will put them in their place. Like, if you're going to be a bully to someone's face, then you're going to get bullied back by the majority of the people, bystanders, who would just defend them. It's just life. That's just life. And the internet, it's a breeding ground for that type of activity. And I guess I lied, because apparently everybody's watching is AI, so I guess it's just talking. And
we're not
actual people. So we've got a bunch of bots watching right
now. No.
So sorry for lying earlier. Sorry for assuming everybody watching is human and not just AI. So, but that's good. Big AI representation tonight.
Oh my God,
that's fantastic. So
androids, rise up! Yeah. Get up, robots, get up!
Anyway, that's
But where were we going with
this?
But
someone had a great comment. That Toby, I've never seen a fight or heated argument in this chat, which is good. Yeah, I think
try.
the majority of comment sections and live stream chats on your channel are very civil, and yeah, there's always disagreements, and people every single time will say, yeah, I didn't really like that, wish I liked it, yada yada yada. But that's totally fine, and that's what we're here to discuss. We're here because we all love Star Wars, and we all love sci-fi nerdy franchises of all different kinds, and movies and TV film in general, and we're here all chatting about it because we all love to talk about it. So, and the discourse around it, pun totally intended, is that there are disagreements and things that we can
you've seen us get heated on
about and stuff, and that's why it's Dork Discourse, because we don't tend to agree on a lot of stuff. So
yes,
the entertainment in debate and back and forth is there, but we're not sitting here insulting each other.
This chat might never get heated, but we certainly have. There's enough debate that goes on between the two of us that we take from the chat. But yeah, no, that's why I think if this is the direction Star Wars does go in the future, with theatrical releases being the focus, which I will be the first to admit and preach, like, it's long overdue. It's time. That as much as I love streaming, this is something Tom and I always go back to. I love the Disney Plus shows, and I'm so grateful for every single one of them and what they've contributed to the lore and canon, and to flesh out so many of the characters that they've explored and characters that have transferred over from animation to live action. But at the end of the day, there is nothing quite so incredible as seeing Star Wars in the theater, that you just can't replicate that from Disney Plus. Like, and that's not to knock streaming or television, and I'm a huge advocate that television can be just as impactful as film and cinema, but at the end of the day, there's something about seeing Star Wars, especially in the atmosphere, being amongst other fans, the good vibes, your opinions leave at the door when you walk in to all go sit together and watch it for the first time. There's that shared excitement that I feel like has been lacking in the fandom. We've of course gotten the exclusive, as we had gone to the Acolyte, premiere to go see the first 2 episodes the day before the show actually aired, but that was like luck of the draw. That was because I was chronically online and was able to quickly get in and freaking secure an RSVP 2 tickets, and then waited and camped out in line for 2+ hours to make sure we had a spot. Like, as fun as those have been, I wish they would do those more, because seeing those first 2 episodes, yeah, it's streaming, but it was
just
amazing.
release more movies.
Well, yes. Charlie, real quick,
Yes.
before we get
Shout out.
distracted.
Charlie.
Thank you so much, my friend. Let me say, Cat and Tom, it makes as much sense as a ketchup flavor popsicle. With fools. Love you both. I have spoken. Yes, and Charlie is certainly no stranger to the fools that we've seen over here on this channel and whatnot when it comes to dodging left and right. So,
Charlie, what if I said that I love ketchup flavored
ew!
popsicles?
I can't even picture that. Yuck, 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 yuck.
No, I absolutely don't. In fact, fun ketchup story. There was one time when I was in elementary school, we'd go and stay at a friend's house after school, and my friend's younger brother, one time I walked in on him, piece of bread, ton of ketchup, piece of bread on top, eating it like a sandwich. Vile. Absolutely vile.
Stop talking. Oh, God.
And so I would probably say I'd rather eat a ketchup flavored popsicle than just a ketchup sandwich.
Frick both of those. Why you don't have to. There is no scenario in which you would have to. Oh,
if I had to. If we bring out the wheel.
God, no.
Should I bring out the wheel?
That is never going on the godforsaken wheel. Don't
No?
you freaking
Okay.
dare.
Right.
Why would you do that?
For those who are familiar with the punishment wheel, which I don't know if we've had a wheel on Dork Discourse.
We did when we did that trivia.
Ah, that's right.
If you got a certain amount wrong.
That's right.
You had to but our punishments were so tame. I had to eat sour gummy worms. That was like my punishment, which was fairly enjoyable. So, ew. All right, moving on from
Simply
that.
says stop with the ketchup.
Yes.
So no more ketchup.
Agreed.
We're done.
You trying to make me gag on
Far
stream?
enough. Yep, we're done with the ketchup. All right.
Trying to, but no, to bring it all back, I do agree. I think Star Wars does need to get back to theatrical releases, because there is something that's like tangible in the air with the fandom. I will say the build up to Kenobi and waiting for that premiere is probably like the closest feeling that can correlate and match and equate to like when the build up to like a theatrical release, like, you know, all the prequels or whatnot. I do feel like Kenobi, in spite of just being streaming, it captured that energy, that just hype and the buzz in the air amongst everybody collectively, you know, the open-mindedness and the excitement about it. I feel like it is the most closely replicated to the energy that you feel when you go to see Star Wars actually live in person in theaters. So I feel like, I don't know, could that be a pivot point? Well, maybe not, because look what happened with the sequels. That was certainly a pivot point for the fandom. So I don't know, maybe live action, you know, or theatrical releases aren't necessarily the solution to all of our ongoing problems right now, but I do think it would recapture something that we've been lacking for how many years has it been since The Rise of Skywalker came out?
2019. 5 years.
5 years. Half a decade. Half a decade, y'all.
5 years.
And so it'll be 2026. So that would put us at 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's rounds up. 7 rounds up to 10. That rounds up to a decade. So holy shnikes. That's like, oh my god. That.
I mean, prequels to sequels was, what, 7
well,
years?
yes. I never. That was 7 years too?
No, I lied.
It was way
years.
more than 7.
10 years. Disney bought Lucasfilm in 2012. But Force Awakens came out in 2015, so 10 years.
That's like if you're
gap.
a 7-year-old who went to go see The Rise of Skywalker, you're 14.
Yeah.
By the time a new movie comes out. Holy frick! That's wild. Oh,
I mean, that's like us.
But we hadn't gone. We were still too young. We were still under the threshold.
8 when it came out.
Maybe if our parents were cool, they would have brought us.
When the sequels came out.
Holy shnikes. It's like a lifetime.
Yeah.
It was like a lifetime. My
and a
God.
10-year pretty much drought of Star Wars.
But we didn't, we had Clone Wars. We didn't have.
We didn't watch Clone Wars when it was coming out.
Yeah, we didn't have Disney Plus.
Played Battlefront 2 on PS2.
Yeah.
And then there's a Lord of the Rings phase in there, which, I mean, I didn't see those in theaters either, but anyway.
It's still 2019, right? I wish, Epic Dude. Somebody put it in a perspective for me. I saw on Twitter that it's been 5 years since 2019. What the F?
Yeah.
Like, my brain just cannot comprehend that, because I feel like those past 5 years have not been real. You know what I'm saying? With everything that's gone down. But speaking of theatrical releases and speaking of Lord of the Rings, I feel like one thing we've not discussed too much on this channel here, because I feel like news has been slowly eeping out about it, but there's been more buzz recently. The Hunt for Gollum film allegedly being split into 2 films, and more importantly, the potential return of Orlando Bloom in the role of Legolas, and the kind of buzz that this has gotten, garnering, discussions about AI. And I've seen actually quite a lot of people suggesting that maybe it's just time to recast these roles. I know in The Hobbit they were able to de-age him, and I don't even think they had to de-age him necessarily that much. He still looked good. He's Orlando Bloom, you know what I'm saying?
No.
But it raised an interesting question this week. I've seen very diehard Tolkien fans, very diehard Lord of the Rings fans, really preaching and suggesting that they'd rather see recast than the use of AI or, the de-aging technology. I don't even... Is that technically AI? The de-aging?
That's probably what they're saying, is that you use AI to de-age and change the voice a little bit.
I guess.
It's not going to be... They're not going to get Orlando Bloom and then use AI to do something other than make Orlando Bloom on camera match what Legolas should look and sound like.
Legolas?
Whatever time frame they're at. Legolas. Whatever Legolas looks and sound like, whatever Legolas should be at the time frame of this movie, that's what they'll use AI for in regards to Legolas.
Well, Bob of the Old Ways makes a point, definitely time to recast Aragorn and Gandalf, but I do believe Sir Ian is returning.
No.
That's the tweet I was trying to find to use as reference for this, but I think he confirmed that he is down for 2 more films, the 2 being the Hunt for Gollum here. So I don't know what timeline, I don't even know if there is an anticipated release date for those films, but...
To Isengard! To answer your question, Evan.
Oh, are they taking the Hobbits? I was like, huh? But yes, it raises an interesting conversation about, I don't know, these are iconic characters. It's certainly a little bit after the fact. I do think Ian McKellen could still play Gandalf.
I mean, Gandalf is old.
Yeah.
In all the movies. Pretty old. So, sure.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's necessary. If he's down,
I feel like Aragorn is the toughest one. Being honest, because what's his face?
Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
Is the literal age that Ian McKellen was.
Yeah.
When he first played Gandalf, which is a wild thought to think about. So yeah, I don't know where I necessarily stand, but I thought it was just an interesting conversation. Of course, the excitement that Lord of the Rings is making a theatrical comeback, which should be interesting because that's not always to say that it's a good thing. I mean, the Hobbit movies, I'll be the first to admit, I didn't even go see those when they came out, nor was I that interested in them because I felt like technology-wise, they were too green screen and paled in comparison to the practicality that, the revolutionary production of the original trilogy just set the standard, and you can watch those movies. It'll be 60 years from now, and if I'm still alive, I would still watch those movies, and there's something timeless about them because of the means that they, went to practically produce and film on location and create their environments and use miniatures and whatnot. So that said, I've come around. I'm not a Hobbit hater anymore. I was never a hater, but I was maybe just more so a skeptic and never had the energy to give it the time of day. And then once I finally did, I think...
Once you let me convince you that the greatest scene between the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies exists in the 3rd Hobbit movie.
I don't know if I know that.
We finally see the most powerful... It's like Revenge of the Sith. There's all this build-up and all this talk about how powerful all these people are. And then we finally see Elrond at his peak, Galadriel at her peak, Saruman at his peak, all fighting the Nazgul and the Witch King and Sauron himself at Dol Guldur. That scene in the 3rd Hobbit movie where they go to rescue Gandalf is, in my opinion,
There's so many scenes in
the
the Hobbit
best
movies that I love.
scene in all the Lord of the Rings movies and all the Hobbit movies, because we find it's exactly like Star Wars. It's like, oh, the Emperor, the Emperor, the Emperor, Vader, 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 Yoda, Yoda, Yoda. It's like, oh, okay, these are the most powerful Force wielders in all of the lore, but we don't see him do anything significant until Revenge of the Sith, when it's the literal war to end all wars, the two fights, the climaxes to end and determine the fate of the whole galaxy, and we finally see Sidious at full power, going all out, Yoda going all out, Anakin, Vader going all out. Like, we finally see that after 6 movies of waiting. And it's like the same with Lord of the Rings. My biggest thing with Lord of the Rings is like, we see Sauron in the prologue and the Fellowship of the Ring, and then he just dies, and then now he's just this shadow overseeing the rest of the movies, and he never even comes back in full form. And then even in The Hobbit, we don't really see him, but you know, when he's actually approaching Dol Guldur, like, you see him in the flesh coming through the eye, and then Galadriel banishes him back to Mordor. But like, before that, we don't see Galadriel do anything. We don't see Elrond really do anything. We don't see Saruman do anything. Like, all they do is just talk the whole rest of the movies. And we finally see him do something. So that was a long-winded answer for why though, The Hobbit, you were underrating and underappreciating The Hobbit.
Okay. But I will still always stand by that. I feel like those were way oversaturated with green screen, and it became just my biggest gripe was the CGI orcs, which is why I'm so incredibly grateful that the Rings of Power is actually casting extras and going the extra mile to, you know, costume them as orcs. It's real life, tangible orcs. I think the only thing that's CGI is the troll, the new troll in the Rings of Power, but he still looks good.
No, it's 10 dudes stacked on top of each other and 15 dudes wide.
You mean what we're gonna have to do if we want to still do Borgullet for our celebration cosplay? Yep. No, those were some of my bigger hang-ups. You know, how could we go from the original trilogy made decades prior that, in my opinion, looks better to go to modern technology, and I just didn't. Yes, I slept on them for that reason, but I was glad that I watched them eventually. So we'll see. I know that I'm not alone in that criticism of those movies, and I know that people are thirsting more for practicality and to get back to that, and Rings of Power does look visually gorgeous, and yes, you can tell that they have to use green screen and CGI for some of it, but it is not distracting in a way where you're like, the entire movie they had a green backdrop. It is a healthy balance. So I'm curious if they will conjure similar, you know, energy, like what that show has been able to do with their production. Granted, they have the biggest, most historic freaking budget known to film and television so far, $1 billion for a TV series, but so that's what I'm curious about, of course.
But also, the ending of The Desolation of Smaug.
You keep focusing on... am I losing my voice? You keep focusing on just moments. For me, just moments don't make a whole series like...
Well, I enjoyed all 3 of those movies in the theaters. I wasn't distracted by any CGI-ness. I thought it was great. Didn't bother me. And the ending of The Desolation of Smaug, they go incredible. In and then let them loose, and then it's like, Bilbo, like, what have we done? And then he's just silent. Smaug flying towards the city and the lake, and then it cuts, and then it's credits.
Was it 2 years or 3 before?
I think it was 1.
Just one?
Year. Yeah.
Holy smokes! That goes to show how the frick did they do that in just 1 year? Overworking the CGI crew, that's how. So yeah.
Such a great...
I don't know if we have a confirmed release. Somebody also reminded me of, yes, the War of the Rohirrim is coming out this year too, actually. Is that December? Is that this year? I'm so freaking behind. I feel like there's been so much this year to look forward to. I've barely even accepted that Rings of Power is back, and we're halfway through that season. So,
you know what else is coming out soon? Happy Gilmore 2.
Oh Jesus!
The long-awaited sequel to the greatest film of all time.
Speaking of decades,
Happy Gilmore. They just announced that shooter actors coming back. His love woman, who I don't even remember the character.
You can't even say love interest.
Love interest. She's coming back. They announced that she's coming back, which is great. Obviously Adam Sandler's coming back as Happy Gilmore. Fantastic. R.I.P. Chubbs though, the great Carl Weathers.
Oh,
another one who has
massive
lost.
loss. God.
But I'm sure that Chubbs will be honored in the film. I'm sure
yeah.
that Chubbs will be honored. But anyway, yeah, Happy Gilmore 2. They just started shooting the other day. Adam Sandler's been hyping it up. It's awesome, great, fantastic. If no one's seen Happy Gilmore, which is not, I would say that it's not the same category of film that we usually talk about here, because it's about sports and a comedy and not sci-fi related whatsoever. But fantastic film. If anyone hasn't seen Happy Gilmore, I would highly recommend.
Oh, Tom. Me too, Sean. Me too.
Come on, Sean. Have you seen Happy Gilmore? Sean? Mr. Bear Walker?
Yes, lots in the pipeline. Lots in the pipeline. How did we go from, yes, Jay's point is a sad day, the voice of Darth Vader died. How did we go from honoring James Earl Jones to now we're talking about Happy Gilmore? We're covered...
honoring Carl Weathers.
I knew this was going to be a very miscellaneous kind of scatterbrained episode because I didn't exactly have a clear course or necessarily topic because, yeah, I feel like we talked a lot last week about Rings of Power, but I feel like we got that out of our system and we had 3 episodes to dissect versus we just had 1 last week and you admitted it wasn't maybe your favorite so far of the season.
Have we talked about last week's episode at all?
No.
No?
Not.
No. Yeah, I mean, I think for me at least, I think of the episodes we've gotten, I think it's my least favorite so far. And I think it's probably because Sauron was not directly involved in this one. In the first 3, he was all involved in the flesh. In this one, yeah, we felt his presence and we saw the couriers from Lindon were killed. Sauron blew up the bridge with the lightning. We saw the Wrights.
Barrow Whites.
Yep, whatever they are. And like we see Adar, the great Adar.
Oh my god.
Has returned
Don't
on his march to Eregion.
Don't with this again.
Hail Adar.
Jesus.
Great Adar's back.
And Tom Bombadil.
Yep. So like that was kind of the weight of this episode was everything that's going on in Rune, with Tom Bombadil and everything there. Yeah. So I think for me, the fact that Sauron was not 100% present in this episode versus he was main focus and we saw the menace that he is in the first 3, I think that it dropped off a little there for me. But overall, still good. I mean, carried on the story. This week's episode with presumably Galadriel and Adar and company rolling up to Eregion, and then they are both confronted with the truth at the same time. I mean, that's pretty juicy.
Well, she's got a big truth to drop on him. Like, you've been played, Halbrand, the King of the Southlands, is not actually who we all thought he was, so, you imprisoned Sauron coming back to take vengeance on you. You've already added salt into a big more than decade, 1,000-plus-year-old wound, and now he's really coming for you. So my biggest question will be, is Adar in any position to trust or believe Galadriel in any way, shape, or form? I'm beginning to think he won't listen or entertain a word she has to say, under the assumption that she's just gonna, she's just trying to do it to save herself in the situation, talk her way out of, being his prisoner here. It would certainly be convenient for her if, she were to say, oh, you were played, let's tag team. So we'll see if he takes the bait, if he buys into that. Dennis has been saying that we must react to True Detective Season 1. Unfortunately, we did watch that already, and it is one of the greatest I cannot believe it has taken me that long.
It's fantastic.
To watch it, yeah. And Tom does not like most TV, y'all. Like, we rarely can agree on a television show to watch. We usually don't. We usually just watch documentaries and stuff, because Tom cannot...
A lot of true crime.
Yes,
we both enjoy.
Hence why you like True
Detective
Detective, the themes and whatnot in that.
But I'm just tired of committing hours and hours and hours to a show, and then it gets canceled, and then it's like, okay, well, I'm never gonna know what happens. why did I waste my time getting invested in the show when I'm not going to be satisfied with the conclusion? So I'm kind of very hesitant at this point to start a new show if I don't have a guarantee that we're going to get the ending. There are a few shows that are huge shows that I have not seen that are on the list. Breaking Bad is one.
Oh, that's a failure on my part.
I've only seen a couple episodes of Breaking Bad. So that's one of the alleged greatest TV shows of all time.
That's a failure on my part that I haven't gotten.
That's one, but then for that, it's like, okay, that's a huge time commitment. That's a crazy amount.
It is.
But if it's the greatest TV show of all time, then I probably gotta get on it.
So. That's how I felt when I took on Vikings, because it's multiple seasons long, and it was back in the day where they would actually have 20 episodes worth of a season. So, that's how I felt when I took it on. But by the time it was over, I was like, frick, I feel like I plowed through that, because yes, when you go in with a guarantee that this is like one of the best rated series of all time, it pays off, so that's on me. I will accept the accountability that I've not gotten you to watch Breaking Bad yet. That's on me. But point is,
I'll let you take accountability.
Tom and I rarely can find a series to watch. We don't just watch TV at night or watch episodic stuff. So True Detective was one thing that we actually agreed on. I loved the first season. I did start Night Country because I know it's anthological. The seasons don't correlate with each other necessarily. So I did try to get Tom to watch Night Country with me, and I think he fell asleep for that. But I want to finish that one on my own, even without you.
That's fine.
If you refuse to watch it. But we also tried to start season 2 of True Detective, and I feel like it was just a very different vibe from season 1.
It was.
Yeah, it was.
You have Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey leading the first one.
It still had a great cast in the second one, but I think it was just trying too hard to top the perfection that it was. But I've heard amazing things about Night Country, and it actually won a lot of awards, I feel like, or at least was nominated for Emmys and whatnot. So, unfortunately, True Detective would have actually been a great show to react to, because it turned out to be one of the best shows ever.
Great.
So.
It was great.
Yes.
It was great. But now it's the prime season of sports in the United States of America. So of all the TV time bandwidth that we have, there's a lot of football, there's a lot of baseball playoffs, soccer heating up. So the TV time is sparing if it's not football and other sports. So that's another thing. We actually talked funny theoretical poll for you guys.
Just do it. We need a real poll for tonight.
This is totally not related to anything, but
before we do poll, Julian, thank you so much. Hi Tom. For the next movie stream, how about Beetlejuice 1988 or the best 1989 movie? James Earl Jones comes out. It's an underrated movie. Oh, thank you, Julian, for the suggestions. I actually have, maybe I'll hit up my members for some exclusive suggestions for my oh my god, my plans for October content coming up. But that's good. Unfortunately, I've actually already seen Beetlejuice, which would have been a great reaction to go off of Beetlejuice. But I would like to see the second one too, long-awaited sequel. What was the poll gonna be?
I was gonna divulge that we had a conversation about sports streams.
Oh, I'm an idiot.
And I know there are other channels out on YouTube and the internet who will just do like live reactions to whatever sporting event. And we are both huge sports fans, and are watching sports all the time. It's not just about the World Cup.
Okay, but that's the only sport I could confidently talk about.
You watch like 20 to 30 football games a year. And
but
you have for the entire time that we've
I don't have all the players to memorize, though.
It doesn't matter.
Like, I know everybody on the U.S. men's national team. I can share opinions about how I feel about their play, their performances, their lack of performances. I could go off about the U.S. men's national team thanks to you. I didn't know shiz about soccer before we started, before I freaking even met you, let alone, like, started dating. I didn't know jack gibblies about the sport of soccer, football for Europeans, for the rest of the world, who that's probably the proper term for it. But now I know, and I could actually confidently talk about it versus, yeah, I know the rules of baseball, I know the rules of football, but I don't have every player memorized. I don't have all their stats.
It doesn't matter. You're watching the game.
Well,
we sat down and watched 3 full football games this last weekend. 3 full football games in one weekend.
And some of them were boring.
Yeah, because the good teams had dominant wins. The bad teams, the Eagles, had to clutch it out and barely win.
Yeah, because we played the team that annihilated the Cowboys and caused them to choke in the playoffs last year. Literally crushed y'all into the ground. Sorry, we were facing the team that curb stomped the Cowboys into oblivion in the playoffs. God forbid. And you guys got to play the Browns. Like, okay. Kat will probably talk about sports the same way she talks about Star Wars. I don't know. Look at me getting sassy. But no, this is just for fun. The World Cup, of course, this is all to say, we are both big U.S. men's national team soccer fans. Wow, Kat, says Jay. We're both big soccer fans. I feel like I could confidently talk about that. And you've said so yourself. The World Cup is the biggest sporting event globally, internationally. So that would be a big deal. And there will be games here in the city of Los Angeles and whatnot. So there'd be lots to discuss and talk about. So we've hypothetically joked about maybe we would do some sports related. Completely different vibe.
I don't know. I think you sitting down talking about football in the heat of the moment. Like, yeah, we're going to sit here and make a reaction video to how the Eagles, like a post-game debriefing on how the Eagles played in the game. No, you're not going to do that. But a live reaction during the game of the Eagles, you're very passionate about it. You're passionate about the sports, Eagles and Phillies and all that stuff. So I think that it would be entertaining if Bryce Harper flies out in the bottom of the 9th and you're raging your face off. That is high quality entertainment in my eyes. So you don't have to know what Bryce Harper's batting average is and what his stats are for the season. But it's still entertaining to watch. So
I love Alice's comment. Are we talking about football as in NFL, NRL, rugby league, or football as in soccer?
All the above.
We're jumping back and forth.
The National Football League in the United States, and soccer, football.
So yes, this is kind of partially a joke, but 70% of you said yes, you would watch that type of content. And, it wouldn't necessarily be the stupidest thing here on my channel, the most unrelated, since my analytics do prove that 95% of this audience here is male. And sports are typically a more male-dominated conversation, I guess. So maybe that wouldn't be so out of left field, but we'll see. We've got a few years till 2026.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie, good point. At least Eagles Cowboys, we could do something, because that would be entertaining. Because when the Eagles lose, you would be so embarrassed, and it would just be amplified if there's a live audience watching you.
That's
be
so
embarrassed
hilarious
about your Eagles that lose the Cowboys. So
football on Dork Discourse. Dark Knight, I know, right? It's kind of like an oxymoron. Oh goodness.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, the title of this is lots to discuss. So we got to a point where sports are on the agenda to discuss.
Danny is sending us out with a very generous.
Danny.
Thank you so much, Danny, for your continued generosity. I hope everyone is well. Would you consider doing a full comprehensive review of the Star Wars movies in order? It would be fun to revisit those films. Love you guys. Honestly, not a bad idea. And actually, that would be pretty great content. And also something just positive and fun to put out there, revisiting them and how I feel about them. Because what's interesting is my opinions change all the time. If I were to talk about the sequels now versus when they first came out, when it was still raw and fresh, I have a very different opinion. And every time I rewatch the sequels, I feel differently about them. So that would actually be some pretty good content to do, especially during a Star Wars drought like we are entering. So you know what? Maybe I will, Danny. Mm-hmm. Maybe I will. Kind of like a retrospective revisiting of all the films and where I currently stand with them. But my opinions are always constantly changing. So that would be fun. Thank you, Danny, for the suggestion.
That is a good idea.
And the super chat.
Just got to.
But yes, I think we had a hard out at 6 p.m. this evening here, folks, Pacific time. It's also 100 degrees in Los Angeles currently, and we have to turn our air conditioning off when we do this. Otherwise, it would be extremely loud and blaring directly into this room. We are in the main powerhouse of where our AC is centralized right now, so it's toasty in here. So we're gonna take off for the evening, folks, but I'm glad we're ending off on a more cheerful, miscellaneous note than wherever we started. But of course, we are honoring and remembering and grateful for the legacy of James Earl Jones, just to bring it back full circle, and regardless of the tensions and whatever drama is ensuing actively in the fandom as we speak, I think we are all united by that shared passion. And at the end of the day, life is too short, and it is just fiction. But in spite of that, sure, I make that argument all the time to stay grounded that this is just a fictional universe, but look at how moved we all are and how heartbroken by, the passing of such a talent who not only changed, the Star Wars universe for the better, but cultural, icon, not, as Tom said, the most legendary villain of all time. Yep. That's thanks to James Earl Jones. That transcends beyond fiction, beyond just the Star Wars fandom, that everybody knows who Darth Vader is. So that is,
yep.
But of course his legacy transcends beyond just that. He brought so much to all of his roles, and with his voice I think somebody replied to my tweet about it, that his voice is immortal. That is one thing that we will always have. So
yeah. And even outside his voice, just overall great human being. Mm-hmm. Fantastic guy. Nothing but good words and stories will surround his legacy. He's a great voice, great acting legacy, history making. The accolades are endless, but great human being as well. And neither of us have ever met him, but just the stories you hear of people who interact with him, work with him, all good, positive things, and people can't say enough good things about him. So really sad day, but at least it gives everybody an opportunity to pay tribute and honor him, and show the families and the survivors of him how much he meant to the world and what his legacy is all about. So if there's a bright side to come from it, it would be that. But obviously sad day, and he will certainly be missed by so many.
Yes. So. One with the Force, though. On that note, thank you all for joining us. Hopefully next week is a less emotional week for the Star Wars fandom here, but we touched on so much this evening here, so thank you guys for sticking with us through all of our random ramblings here and scatterbrained topics this week. Maybe we'll be back on track pending how this week goes for the Rings of Power, but until then, we will see you guys next Tuesday, same time, same place. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, night, morning, evening, 3 a.m., wherever you may be. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight, and we will see you guys again very, very soon.
Yes. Have a good one, everybody. Talk to you later.
Bye, friends.